Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, this was a very fun episode of NXT, an outstanding effort as they continue towards NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. We got some new matches announced, some great matches. Overall, I think they really maximized this hour. Nothing really felt wasted. I enjoyed every moment of it. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
You know, dude, I gotta tell you, I was fully expecting this NXT to suck, not because I thought that the show itself would suck, but because I thought that it would suck relative to Ultima Lucha.
Yeah.
As it turns out, it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty enjoyable. Didn't touch Ultima Lucha. I mean, there really is no comparison, but it was still a pretty solid show. I enjoyed it from beginning to end, and let's find out if either one of us has any complaints in our next segment.
Absolutely. On to Heat of the Night. I have got 0 heats of the night tonight. Up and down this show. Nothing but smiles for me. What'd you think of it, partner?
Same here, man. No heat of the night. No picks. No nothing. This is just a really fun show from beginning to end.
Then let's keep the momentum going. Let us get right into our NXT review. And our opening bout, which in my mind, with how good it was, should have been the main event. Bayley versus Charlotte. What a great back and forth effort between these two women.
Yeah, this was a really good match. Easily the match of the night. No competition there. Just beginning to end, this match told an amazing story.
Absolutely, because they have built up Charlotte as, again, kind of the gatekeeper of the division, right behind Sasha, who is the champion. You got to go through Charlotte to prove you can get to the champion.
Charlotte is kind of like the measuring stick.
Exactly. And, Bayley and Charlotte do have that history. In fact, it was Charlotte who turned on Bayley before joining the BFFs, then led at the time by Summer Rae. So, really extensive history between these two women. And, Bayley finally gets the win over Charlotte after an amazing back and forth. I think my favorite moment of the match was the sequence where they're fighting for supremacy over the backslide. And then Bayley does the counter and she gets the belly to Bayley. And she only gets a 2 count.
Yeah.
And, I thought she was going to have it there. But that just shows you the toughness of Charlotte. And then when Bayley, does her finisher again, but this time like an avalanche style, that meaning off the top rope, and that's what puts away Charlotte. You protect Charlotte perfectly. And not only do you protect Charlotte perfectly, you make Bayley seem so legitimate.
Yep.
Because I think this whole tear that she's been on, which we'll get into a little bit, that a little bit more later with another segment that happened. But I think with this tear that she's been on, I am so ready now, I think, for her to be NXT Women's Champion. And I only say that now because Sasha's on the main roster, and you and I can think about bigger and better things for her, that being saving the Divas division by being, that champion. So if Bayley's going to take the mantle, I think now is an excellent time to do it. This is a fantastic contest.
I completely agree. Yeah, this match was so good that it actually drew me in enough that I stopped taking notes. And when a match does that it's special.
Absolutely.
This match, to me, was one of, and this is going to be kind of weird sounding, just knowing that it was on a regular episode of NXT, I feel like this was one of the best NXT women's matches ever.
Yeah, and
I
the
would put it
crowd
in the top 5, honestly.
I would too, and the crowd certainly seemed indicative of that as well, because we got This Is Wrestling chants, women's wrestling, this is awesome.
Probably be like number 4 behind Sasha Becky, Sasha Charlotte, Bayley Becky, and then Sasha Charlotte on the New Year's Eve show.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a respectable place for a match like this. They just went back and forth. And you could tell, like...
You know what? I might even put this above Sasha Charlotte from the New Year's Eve show.
Yeah. What I really liked about it was Charlotte, who's normally so cool and calm. Again, there's this reverence about Charlotte in the NXT women's division because of how good she is, but she had that sense of urgency. She was looking for a off the top rope natural selection, and Bayley had the counter. Just that ending sequence I thought was so good. We saw what Corey Graves called a Bayley Canrana. So
I loved that, yeah. And the dude, I don't know if you caught this or not, but it was amazing. Bayley was headed to the top rope to do the Bayley Canrana, and a little girl, I think it might have even been the little girl that Bayley ended up giving her headband to at the end, but a little girl in the crowd went, "You can do it, Bayley!"
Oh, that's adorable.
And then Bayley pointed at the little girl too, so I'm pretty sure it was because Bayley pointed at her and then hit the Hurricanrana.
Amazing. And see, that's, we saw that fan connection throughout the match because I kept panning to that little girl who was just absolutely adorable. And that just shows you what Bayley is all about. And she's been really a fantastic, women's performer. I know there have been times where I've been hard on Bayley, but she's always been talented. I've never said that she was crap, and I've never really crapped on the character. And the connection she has with people outside of Full Sail, when they put the belt on her, because I do think it's time. Again, Sasha did her job, and now she's going to do that same job on the main roster. But with Bayley as the next champion, it's just going to go over insanely well. I do think she's a role model for young girls, which I think they need. That's another thing I love about the NXT women and this women's revolution going on the main roster. You have these young girls that probably watch the product with their parents. They can get into something now, too, and they can have something to aspire towards, like little boys probably do with John Cena and the like. So, really amazing stuff.
Yeah. From what I understand, that little girl's name is Izzy, and she's at pretty much every single NXT show in her Bayley gear.
Aww.
Yeah. She's good friends with that other little boy that his parents post all of their pictures to Reddit. The kid's name is Mason. And yeah, like they're good friends, and there's just like a little clique there that kind of all go to NXT together. It's just a couple of families. I think it's awesome.
That's amazing.
And yeah, like tonight, like Bayley just made her life, dude.
She hugged her, and then the girl cried.
Yeah.
Hugged her. I'm like, oh. God, I know how that girl feels, because I can tell you as a grown man, if Johnny Mundo hugged me, I'd probably cry too, so I can't even really, I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah. No shame. No shame in that.
No, never any shame.
Oh man, that was great though. So then after the whole match, after Bayley gets her win, we had a Michael Cole, Kevin Owens sit-down interview.
And I love that Kevin Owens pretty much affirmed everything that you and I believed was going on here. He talked about, this is a great segment overall, but I mean, first he talks about William Regal and the whole punching him thing, and he said, the apology was sincere. You try and say that it wasn't Cole, and of course Cole, knowing his point, or knowing his place, wasn't going to, start a war that he couldn't finish, so he moves on from that. Yeah. And then he says, well, what about Regal saying on camera that he hopes that Finn Balor beats you? And he's like, I'm really glad you brought that up, Cole. For once you're being a good journalist. And being really... Being a good journalism. Yes, exactly, Ashton. And, to kind of sum that up, he says, I know Regal used to be one of the most infamous villains. He probably still has that villainous streak now being in a position of power. I don't want him to put a crooked referee my way and taking the NXT championship from me. So Kevin Owens actually lays down the gauntlet for a ladder match. It's so weird that it happens this way, because you look at the two guys and you feel like Finn Balor would be more inclined to ask for a ladder match. But no, Kevin Owens asked for that match. And we know that he can win them too, because didn't he beat El Generico and ROH in a ladder match for the world title? So yes. we know he has that ability. So
yeah, he freaking pile drove him through a ladder.
Pop a powerbomb on the ladder spot at TakeOver Brooklyn. I'm feeling it.
You would think that would lead to him winning, though, and there's no way Owens is winning the title back.
Yeah, which is a shame, too, because he talks about the championship, actually, and he says, he needs it. For one thing, because it's a reminder of what he did to Sami Zayn, and he likes to have it. That is probably one of the best justifications I have ever heard somebody give for wanting to be a champion.
I want to be the champion because that belt reminds me of how much of a psychopath I am.
Yeah, I want to be champion because that belt reminds me what a scumbag I was to my once best friend. Yeah. And then where I get to the affirming our suspicions right part, he did say that it's depleting his bank account. The paychecks are smaller not being champion. So Kevin Owens, a model of blue collar America, now has to provide for his family without that NXT championship because of the greed of Finn Balor. Who's the babyface again? I don't understand it. And then Cole ups the ante like the douchebag he is, and this is why when he was a war correspondent, he was shot at from both sides. That was a joke from Jerry Lawler. And he says, "Can you beat Finn Balor?" And you would have thought that Michael Cole slapped Kevin Owens' mother in the face, because the way Kevin Owens looked at him is like, did you seriously just ask me that right now? Did you, with everything going on with me right now, did you really just ask me that question? And he takes the microphone off, he looks at Cole, takes a swig of his water, and he walks out. Just walks out. So
he was just done with that interview at that point.
Well, the lack of professionalism by Michael Cole, dare I say, was utterly appalling. So I don't blame Kevin Owens one bit.
Is that how you see it?
That's exactly how I see it. And I have 20/20 vision, so I'd say that's quite accurate.
All right, I'm going to just leave it at that. It's at this point that we find out that our main event tonight is going to be Samoa Joe versus Rhyno. And then we get the first of two Bull Dempsey video packages. This one, he was watching his Bullfit infomercial from last week, and he just kind of, he didn't really say it. He kind of thought it to himself, but we heard it. That he's got to get in shape and that his career depends on it. And then we got a little bit of a montage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still loving these. Tone down the comedic factor a little bit, at least in my opinion, from last week. Because last week, I think they just took it to the absurdist extreme. Like, even lifting this skinny weight and falling back and stuff. But you know what? Like, it's funny. I got to share a little bit of a personal story here real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because after Bullfit, like, I went on Bull Dempsey's Twitter, and it had a lot of support. Like, a lot of people loved it. And, you know, there was one thing, though, that stuck out to me. And that was one fan saying, "Man, Bull, I can't believe they did this to you. You could have been the next badass monster heel. And instead now you're just a joke. You know, you're this comedy act." And Bull Dempsey actually replied to that tweet. And he said, "What's comedic about me getting in shape?" And I think that tweet kind of crystallized for me what this is really supposed to be. Because I thought that they were going to do the comedy route and have him embrace his inner fat guy. And I would have loved that. You know, I would have loved that. Because I think in an age where one of the big social crises right now is body acceptance, you know, I think that would have been a cool story to tell. But I think they are legitimately going the route. This guy is going to get in shape. And I don't mind that. I think it's a good story. And I enjoyed how it was told here. I just wanted to share, like, it is working. Bullfit is working. A lot of people do want to get Bullfit again, according to Bull Dempsey's Twitter. And I think he's finally making that connection with the audience outside of, "Grr, I'm big, and by consequence, I can hurt people." You know, so I really like it.
It's good stuff. I think it's good. I actually, I don't know if I said it on TwitWoW, but I felt like when this whole Bull Dempsey's fat storyline started, I really did feel like the only way that they could get out of this storyline without doing any damage to anyone is if he legitimately did get in shape.
Right.
And now it looks like they're actually going in that direction. And hey, if he pulls it off, props.
See, now the question is, though, I wonder how much legitimate gym time he's putting in. Because, you know, with an endgame like this kind of storyline, people are going to be anticipating seeing the new Bull Dempsey. And I'm curious myself now.
You know what my thing is, though, John?
What's that?
What I love so much about this is that I don't even know if they're doing it intentionally. This is a complete and total play on ZZ.
Yeah.
Because if Bull Dempsey pulls it off and he manages to get fit in the next couple months, that's going to be just pie, or egg, I guess I should say, all over ZZ's face.
Right. Yeah. Because Bull's going to show him what it means to do the work.
Yep.
And, you know, he's putting it in. And I can really get behind it. I think such a great use of social media, too. So, yeah, really everything about this is kind of hitting the target. It kind of cuts off when Bull's trying to lift a weight that may be a bit too much for him. And the guy is concerned. He's like, Bull! And then just like the to be continued. So I thought that it was going to continue next week. But we actually do get a resolution to this tonight, which we'll get into later. So.
Absolutely. All right. Up next, we had our second match of the night, Baron Corbin versus Steve Cutler. Corbin over in about 15 seconds.
I mean, the fact that we even call it a match, I think that's being a bit hyperbolic these days.
And all I'm saying is the bell rang twice.
I love it. Yeah, man, 15 seconds, not much of a review. Baron Corbin keeps rolling on. Everybody knows what I want him to do at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Not really much of a discussion to be had. We can move on.
All right, up next, we had Bayley backstage. Actually, in Regal's office. She says she's been on a roll. She asks for an NXT Women's Championship match, and Regal says that she's not the only one that deserves it, and that next week she would be having a number one contenders match with Becky Lynch.
I love it, because remember, I think I even said on last week's NXT TWitWoW, like, if they were really going to commit to this being Bayley's redemption storyline, you know, like the female Sami Zayn that we talked about for a while, I felt like she needed to beat Becky Lynch for all the hell Becky Lynch put her through when she was a heel. You know, like targeting her arm and targeting her leg. So if Bayley can get the win, I really don't see any reason why she wouldn't. You know, that'll really kind of cement things, and then she'll be ready for Sasha Banks. So one other thing I want to say about this, though, Bayley was so adorable in this to me, because even when, like, whether you're a face or a heel, when you're on a roll, you have this chip on your shoulder, and you go in and you tell the authority figure, whoever, what you expect. Bayley was practically asking in the nicest way possible, so do you think, you know, because I've been on kind of a roll, that I could have an NXT Women's Championship? Like, yeah. I just thought her whole approach was
adorable. Honestly, it almost reminded me of, like, a super awkward little, like, teenage boy asking his first girl out on a date.
I know, right? It's like, yeah, so I was just wondering, could I just have this championship? And I'm like, oh, just say yes, Regal, give it to her. But then he's like, Becky Lynch. And I'm like, oh, that's right, she's waiting in the wings. So we'll see. Next week's going to be great.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, that's, I was honestly, that's main event worthy right there. I felt like tonight's match with Charlotte was main event worthy, but Bayley versus Becky Lynch is definitely main event worthy.
Oh, absolutely, without question.
How crazy is it now that Becky Lynch is almost seen as, like, above Charlotte in the pecking order?
I know, right? That's so crazy, because especially when you look on the main roster, like, Charlotte's still top dog, at least as part of the submission sorority, you know, between the two of them. But in NXT,
is Becky she really, though? I mean, I know that she's won every match she's been in, but so has Becky.
That is true. That is true. I just feel like, I don't know, more of the spotlight's being put on Charlotte at the moment. But the great thing about Becky Lynch is I think when she really starts to take off, there won't be any stopping her.
Yeah.
And, you know, the idea that she had such a clinic with Sasha at the last takeover that, yeah, Regal's like, no, you know, she had such an outstanding contest. She has a claim to another shot, so you got to beat her. I think that's so cool. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, up next, we had our third match of the night. Tyler Breeze versus, unfortunately, I didn't catch the guy's last name, but his first name was Eric.
Well, I mean, I just took his name to be Uggo, so, you know.
I mean, that too. Breeze won in under a minute.
Exactly, you know, beauty shot. The real story here, Regal comes out and he breaks the news that I think we've all known about for a while now. He scoured the earth for Tyler Breeze's opponent after he's like saying, is this the best I get? Is this all I get? And Regal says, you will be facing Jushin Thunder Liger. Holy shit chance. Which is such a contrast, because when Regal first name dropped NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, the crowd booed because they're still salty about not getting the show. And yet, when the announcement of Jushin Thunder Liger, all they could say was holy shit. So that just shows you the magnitude of this name coming to NXT, even just for this one show to perform. And then I love WWE. They immediately capitalize on it. The announcers, I mean, commentators really sell it so well, the shock. And then they do one of their classic video packages. I thought it was a great video package highlighting what Liger is all about. And yeah, great hype up for the match right out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. They gave a video package for Jushin Thunder Liger too, and it was amazing. And they showed all of his highlights in WCW and stuff like that. And just, man, I can't even believe that NXT and frickin' New Japan have some kind of a working agreement in place for this to happen.
I will say this, though. I know we don't do, like, NXT requests or anything like that. We normally just say what we expect from the storylines here. I really hope that we get at least, like, because I know they have the whole revolving door policy with their roster. Maybe not next week, but maybe the week after. You get Breeze maybe just cutting a promo that he's been watching Liger, and the one thing he keeps coming back to is that he's an Uggo, and that I don't care how famous you are, that you're a legend, you know, I'm going to hit my beauty shot on you, or something like that. I want Breeze to respond to the fact that he is facing a guy the magnitude of Liger, and I want to hear it in Breeze's words. I think he needs to respond, because I don't want this to just be a match where, oh, Breeze is getting some shine, but Liger, though. I want it to be a bit deeper than that. So I'm hoping Breeze has some kind of response in the coming weeks.
That's perfectly understandable. I actually really like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, after the sort of video package for Jushin Thunder Liger, we find out that still to come tonight is going to be Rhyno Joe, but then up next is going to be a Finn Balor interview about TakeOver Brooklyn. However, before that actually happens, we got an Apollo Crews vignette, formerly known as Uhaa Nation. I absolutely love the new name. It's a hybrid of Apollo Creed and Terry Crews, and they showed some of his amazing high-flying stuff that he can do. They showed him with his shirt off, which is instantly going to draw most people's attention because he's built like a freaking black Ryback. And like, yeah, this is great.
What I really loved about this, dude, because again, you know, I scour online forums a lot, as I know you do too. You know, your place is usually Squared Circle subreddit. My place is usually everywhere else. I've got to get on your level sometime. But I know some people were expressing concern, like the Uhaa Nation vignettes, they started and then they stopped so abruptly. And yet this one is the most meaningful because we get the new name in Apollo Crews.
And we got a date.
Exactly, and we got a date. I was going to say before that, we got all this cool footage of him really working with Solomon Crow, actually, at one point. That was pretty cool. And yes, Ashton, to your point, we got a date. His debut is going to be NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, which makes him seem like a big deal to me. When you're making your debut at a special.
The last guy that debuted at a live special was
Finn Balor, correct? No, not Finn Balor. Hideo Itami.
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens, that's right. Damn, I forgot about that. Yeah, he really has had a meteoric rise. Good God. But you're right. You know, Kevin Owens and, you know, Hideo before him.
December, dude.
Yeah, man.
It's been 9 months.
Holy shit. Like, unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, our point, I guess, guys,
no, not even 9. It's been 8 months.
Right. It's been a long time. It's been close to a full calendar year. But
not even, dude. No, that's what I'm saying, though. Owens debuted less than 8 months ago on NXT, and he's already beaten John Cena.
I'm telling you, man, people that may be worried about Owens or whatever, that guy's going to be a future world champion, and he is going to hold on to that belt tight, guaranteed. But the focus here, and kind of the final exclamation point I want to put on, if Apollo Crews is going to have this debut here at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, he's in for something special. If CJ Parker was still around, I would think that, yeah, he was obviously going to be the opponent. I don't know who the opponent's going to be here. Maybe Ty Dillinger. So, I don't know. That's a thought. Apollo Crews.
Squeeze me?
Well, he's kind of the jobber, so, you know,
he's not.
Your
face is a jobber. I think it's going to be Solomon Crow.
Okay, first of all, I think you're taking this a bit too personally, but second of all, we know that Ty Dillinger, he's a loser compared to Chad Gable. He's a loser compared to Jason Jordan, so it seems to be good that he's fodder for the debuting talent, so it seems like a good place for him. Now,
except for the fact that he's a perfect 10.
Well, that was just me deliberately now pouring salt in the wound because you brought my face into this. But yeah, Apollo Crews is going to be very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Up next, we had our sit-down interview with Byron Saxton and Finn Balor. And really, I mean, I'm not one to tear down anyone's mic skills, but Finn Balor said a whole lot without actually saying a single word.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I love Finn to death. He's not one, and I still believe he will be a top draw when he comes to the main roster, but I don't think he's one of those top draws that'll really be speaking a lot. I don't even really know if that can work, because I always feel like they say charisma is a necessity. I feel like he has charisma in a different way. It doesn't really come from his words so much as his look and his actions. But, you know, he said, no, I wasn't surprised by Kevin Owens, you know, attacking William Regal, and I've known him for many years, and that's just his behavior, and I'm going to retain a takeover more or less. You know, he accepted the challenge for a ladder match. And so, yeah, like you said, he said a lot, but he really didn't say anything at all. So, yeah, that's all I can really say about that.
All he really said was, Kevin Owens likes to talk a lot. I let my actions do the speaking, and Tokyo wasn't a fluke.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's there really to analyze or review? I mean, it was a by-the-numbers promo. I guess it got its job done, but nothing really too much there from Finn Balor tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait until he turns heel and we get more interesting versions of him.
I know, right?
Up next, the Mechanics versus the Hype Bros. You and me both, dude. No, you and me both. I'm just like, why are they still giving these guys wins?
Especially
Why?
when the Mechanics just beat
Cass and
was just
Enzo.
like, what the heck is this? Now, here's the thing. I guess I can't be too hard on it because obviously NXT sees something in the Hype Bros that myself, you, and Corey Graves clearly don't. But at least they got
I'm so
some.
glad we have Corey Graves on our side.
Well, he's the only one that matters, so we got the only person that matters on our side. They do win with the, I guess, double tandem Rough Rider, whatever. I don't care, people. The Mechanics, they did great double teamwork. They were crisp, they were fluid. I was hoping they'd get the win, but they did beat down the Hype Bros post-match. They hit their double team finisher and Zack Ryder the Shattering Machine.
Just the Shatter Machine.
Just the Shatter. I keep wanting to say Shattering, but it is just Shatter Machine. And yeah, so I guess they got some of their quote unquote heat back.
Yep.
I don't want to get too much into it because I know we always do preview predictions for every big show, and that'll include NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. But you'd think with how the tag team division seems to be going, you'd want to build up the Mechanics because I love their look, and I think they can be just like a no-nonsense heel team that could be quite great in that role.
Well,
but
honestly,
I digress.
I think with the news that we just got tonight, which actually, you know what, do you want to transition to our next match?
Absolutely.
For our next segment, actually, it would be the Vaudevillains in William Regal's office. With this news, we find out that the Vaudevillains are getting a tag team title rematch at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. With that news, I think the Vaudevillains are actually going to win the titles.
I do as well. I even told you because here's the thing here. Here's the real story, Ashton, besides the rematch. Regal even said, if I were you, I would find a way to curtail Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
Vaudevillains are getting a new person. We're getting that freaking troupe. I mean, I
really, really hope it's one of the Australian girls, Cassie or Jessie. I would prefer Cassie because Jessie's more of a natural heel, but either one of them would make me so happy.
I'm gonna level with everybody. Now, I love our viewing audience, and I love my what was that?
I'm just laughing because of the mood that you just got yourself into.
Yeah, because I'm about to make a big admission here.
Yeah.
But I love our audience, and I love my co-worker and commentary here. So again, no shame. I would shed manly tears for Johnny Mundo so I can take it one step further. For the Vaudevillains, I am such a mark for these guys. I actually researched 18th century language, and because I was researching the period of vaudeville and everything. I wanted to do a post on TWitWoW, it just never really came together. But there was one word that could really describe how I'm feeling right now. I'm mad as hops about this tag team championship rematch. That means excited, because I feel like the Vaudevillains will go all the way against Blake and Murphy, finally win those NXT tag team championships, and I hope whichever woman kind of curtails Alexa Bliss, in William Regal's words, really negates her. It is one of the Australian girls. I'm right there with you. I think it would be great shine for them. And it is an amazing time to be a Vaudevillains fan. I mean, between Ultima Lucha tonight and then where the Vaudevillains are going, it may finally be a good time to be me. And that's really saying something.
You know what's funny, though, John, is I didn't even know that Regal said curtail. I thought he said contain. And I was getting it in my mind. I'm like, are they going to put her in a cage or something? Like, what exactly?
Well, yeah, and I'm just glad they're staying consistent with the story because the big thing was Alexa Bliss slapping them and costing them the match. So I'm like, please get a new member. And to be fair, Ashton, William Regal may have said contain. I may have misheard it, but I just thought he said curtail. So I'm really glad they addressed that.
Well, if he did say contain, if he did, what do you think that might mean? Do you are they going to seriously try and maybe handcuff her or put her in a cage or something like that?
Maybe. I just still hope we go the route because they are chivalrous, remember? They are chivalrous. So even touching her and restraining her that way, I think goes against their code. I think because the Vaudevillains believe in chivalry, it fits in so snugly with the idea, well, we just got to fight fire with fire then to preserve our manliness and our chivalry by having a woman, negate Alexa Bliss while we take care of Blake and Murphy.
Man, they should just freaking pull a Red Dragon and get Shayna Baszler or something like that.
I know, right? But I mean, you know what though? Let me just say this too as a closing note because I don't want to dwell too much longer on this. But I loved your idea that they get her in that vaudeville getup. I really hope they do that. I am so excited about this.
Talking about Cassie.
Cassie, yeah, well, that was the example we used, so let's just keep going with it. Yeah, get Cassie in that vaudeville getup,
Yeah.
and I'm so ready. So ready.
I didn't even say vaudeville. I said like pinup.
Yeah, you said pinup. I mean, that's what I mean, like vaudeville, pinup, just something that would fit their age.
Yeah.
That they represent. Just go with it, man. Go all the freaking way with it, right down the goal line.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
That's exciting. I'm looking forward to TakeOver Brooklyn almost more than SummerSlam, honestly.
I know, right? Crazy, man.
It's not right, man. It's not right. Up next, though, we had the sequel, or I guess conclusion maybe, of Bull Dempsey's training montage. They show him kind of learning how to do different workouts, and he's doing like calisthenics and that kind of stuff. And then it all kind of builds up to him flipping a giant tire.
And what they didn't show you, and forgive me, because I know I should probably be seriously reviewing this, but what they didn't show you was the camera panning over to Cage afterwards with his arms folded and just shaking his head like, bitch, please. I would have done it 5 times by now. But, yeah.
And then just being like, and they signed you instead.
I'm just still coming down from Ultima Lucha, guys. Seriously, if you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? Really, go see it right now. But
seriously though, what are you, insane?
I liked it though, Ashton. In all sincerity,
I freaking loved it. It was amazing. It was Ultima Lucha. Come on, man. Let's go back to NXT now.
Well, yeah, I was actually referring to NXT, but to my point, yeah, I thought it was a great build up there, a great moment there for Bull Dempsey to conquer the tire, if you will. Lifting the weights, doing all that. And yeah, like you said, give it a couple months, make it seem like it's a realistic workout regimen. Bring him back. And hell, honestly, maybe the fanfare will be so strong because they'll have followed him on social media and everything. Maybe he can have a rise to the NXT championship. I don't know.
No. That's Hideo's spot.
Hey, look.
That is Hideo's spot. It is reserved for him. When he gets back, it is his.
I could say a lot about Hideo, but I will refrain for the moment.
What would you say, John? You gonna get racist up in here?
Well, not racist. No, I just think that he's a completely inferior father to Kevin Owens, and he should be ashamed of himself. That's just kind of my view.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you migrate
just because he had to leave his family in Japan to pursue his dream.
Well, actually, no. Didn't he bring his family to America with him? So he uprooted them from a way of life that they knew, and he's a failure. So unlike
Kevin Owens do that too? Didn't he uproot his family from Montreal to move to Florida?
Yeah, but he beat John Cena, and he was an NXT champion. So your argument is moot, just like Hideo Itami's arm because it's still injured because he's a punk bitch. But now that I've said my piece on it, well, you forced it, man. You forced it, accusing me of racism. No, not racism.
Well, guess what, John? Hideo Itami used to be Kenta, so your argument is invalid.
Oh. But, I think Bull Dempsey can do good things if he has the fanfare behind him, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely an interesting, almost experiment just to kind of watch unfold. So I'm really just kind of curious to see where they go with it in the end, in the long run.
Completely agree with you.
Match number 5, main event, Samoa Joe, Rhyno, big man match, pretty typical. Joe wins.
I mean, that's just it, though, dude. Like, you pretty much did the review. I really did. I'll be honest.
You're welcome.
I'll be. Thank you. I'll be honest. This is the only point in the show I did look away from my network for like a second or two because I was just getting bored, to be honest. Like, I like Joe, but you guys know, again, what I want him to do in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, him versus Corbin. I think that'd be a great Haas fight. Rhino's older. You could tell he got gassed. If personally, and I never really like saying this, and I'm not really one to say this anyway, if I'm Joe, I'm getting kind of annoyed because, like, you're feeding me scraps. Come on, give me something to do. But he got the win after the Muscle Buster. We'll see what he does in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. But, yeah, not really much of a main event here. This is why I said that Charlotte and Bayley should have gone on last. This, actually, Rhyno Joe should have been the opener. Because I feel like that would have set the tone better because you got to see Joe dominate. Instead, though, that's your closing note. And I even looked at my timer, and I'm like, oh, there's over like a minute left. So I thought, maybe Baron Corbin does a run-in? And no, it was just Joe posing and recaps and everything. And I'm like, not necessarily a waste of a main event, but the idea that you don't have anything for Joe to do, and it's like August 6th now, or like 16 days away from this show. Come on, guys. So that was my thought on the whole thing.
Well, I mean, we might be 16 days away from the show, but it's still 2 episodes of NXT worth.
Right, and anything can happen.
Exactly. And That's the kind of the thing with NXT is that they like to kind of wait until the last second to kind of fill out their cards. Like they announce their big matches early, but they usually wait until the last minute to really fill out the card.
Right.
So they're kind of like a hybrid between WWE and the right thing to do on that.
Right.
So, all right. I mean, that's the main event. So I don't really have anything to add, John.
All right. Well, now our last segment: high spots and low shots. Going to be real straight and to the point. My low shot are the mechanics. Love these guys to death. I hated that they lost tonight, but they did lose. Just a week prior, they got a huge win. They couldn't follow up on it, even though they did get some of their heat back with a post-match beating. These guys have to be my low shot. It sucks, but it is what it is.
My low shot is Rhyno, because to me, he has worn out his welcome, and he just proved tonight that he's not in the same league as the main eventers.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. My honorary high spot, the Vaudevillains.
Nice.
They got there. And see, here's the difference. Bayley, who has been on a roll, she has to win one more match, to get there. Vaudevillains, when they lost last week, you would have thought that put them in the back of the line, but William Regal understood their case, and he granted them a rematch. They don't have to do anything. They just have to figure out that Alexa part of the Blake-Alexa Murphy factor, and they may just be the next NXT Tag Team Champions. So they're my honorary high spot. But my legitimate high spot will be Bayley.
Yeah, and you know what, dude? We're going to make that a consensus high spot, because I agree with you.
Absolutely, because even though she still has one more mountain to climb in Becky Lynch, it doesn't change the fact that she had a stellar matchup with Charlotte tonight, and she won.
This match with her and Charlotte was better than their NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way match that they had against each other.
I completely agree with you. I'm actually glad you brought that up. Because, I agree. And I love how she won so decisively. Like, she didn't really catch Charlotte, with a hiccup or something or a roll. No, it was
won legit.
Yeah, she won with her finisher off the top freaking rope. So she's won.
Still.
Yeah. So she's one match away from getting to face Sasha at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. I think those two could tear the house down. If that's the match that happens, you never know with NXT. But, yeah, she's my high spot.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, consensus high spot.
All right, then. Well, with that said, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-warden commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Do you think Bayley has what it takes to go all the way this time around? How do you think the Vaudevillains are going to negate Alexa Bliss and NXT TakeOver Brooklyn? And how do you feel like the match between Tyler Breeze and Jushin Thunder Liger will go down? Can Breeze actually win this? Or are they going to give the win to the legend? Talk to us. Be sure to take that conversation over to Pletov, an amazing pro wrestling group on Facebook. A lot of big-time NXT fans there. But I get it. If you don't want to converse with a large group of people and you want to keep it minimal, Ashton has you covered. He has created a TwitWoW subreddit. There you can see all of our TwitWoW content, as well as create threads of your own relating to pro wrestling to post to either him or I. And we will see you again for day 12 of the G1 Climax on Friday. And it's sure to be a great show. We have got Okada, the Rainmaker, versus the Stone Pitbull Ishii. They are both at 4-1 records. Who will ascend to 5-1? Who will be one step closer to potentially winning it all at G1 Climax 2015? And until then, guys, tune in and peace out.